Let's start with the greeting. Number one, this is President Trump greeting Zelensky at the White House door. And you'll notice, I think we'll see here, there's a focus on President Trump's pleasure at the dress of his counterpart. Number one, please. Two.
We love them. We love them. Thank you very much, everybody.
A lot of warmth there, and again, so different from last time. Here they are in the White House. There's a photo, number two. This is the two of them in the Oval Office looking at a map. Again, body language says it all. Here's the president. Let's see. This is the number six. This is the president expressing his optimism that they can reach an agreement. Number six.
The Alaska summit reinforced my belief that while difficult, peace is within reach, and I believe that in a very significant step, President Putin agreed that Russia would accept security guarantees for Ukraine, and this is one of the key points that we need to consider, and we're going to be considering that at the table also, like who will do what, essentially. I'm optimistic that collectively we can reach an agreement that would deter any future aggression against Ukraine, and I actually think there won't be. I think that's even overrated, largely overrated, but we're going to find out. And I think that the European nations are going to take a lot of the burden. We're going to help them, and we're going to make it very secure. We also need to discuss the possible exchanges of territory, taking into consideration the current line of contact. That means the war zone, the war lines that are pretty obvious, very sad, actually, to look at them. And negotiating positions, President Putin.
Okay, Sam, you can jump out of that.
Also,
number seven now, please. This is Zelensky expressing his pleasure with the conversation.
Thank you so much. I think that we had very good conversation with President Trump.
Very good.
And it really was the best one. Or sorry, maybe the best one will be in the future. But it was really good. And we spoke about very sensitive points.
Okay. We'll look at some more, but gentlemen, I want to bring you in and ask you your thoughts. Dad, you first. The importance of the warmth between them. Is that just something for commentators to comment on, or does it matter here?
Well, I think a bully has discovered that you can't bully everybody. And when somebody is not a bully and stand up to you, that the only way to deal with them then is with kindness and with cooperation. It's an extraordinary change. And I think it was a result of how tough Zelensky stood when he was treated, in my view, outrageously in the Oval Office.
Cliff.
Look, I think it's good to see good relations between them. We know President Trump puts a lot of stock into good personal relations with other leaders. But as you said, I think suggested earlier, Mark, that this is not the substance. It's the mood, and that's good, and that's helpful. But we don't know about the substance, and there's plenty that I have to say that I'm concerned about that we just don't know at this point. But again, I'd rather see them getting along than what we saw at the last meeting.
Yeah. All right. Well, go ahead, Dad.
Even in that, there was some substance. I mean, President Trump suggested that he was prepared to participate in some form in providing security guarantees to Ukraine, which is, as far as I know, a major change and a very important step.
It is, but more, I'm curious to know what you think that means, because I'm not sure exactly what that means. I think it doesn't mean American boots on the ground, and I'm not arguing that it should. We had some security guarantees in the past, such as in the Budapest memo, where we and the Russians and the British said we all guarantee the territorial integrity of Ukraine, and that didn't come to pass. So I worry if it's going to be only a piece of paper. I don't know what he means. I'm just kind of curious to know what you think.
Go ahead, Dad.
They're also talking about other things like stationing NATO troops
or non-NATO but NATO members like France and Britain.
And that would be a big deal.
Yeah. Let me ask you about that point. And this has been reported now for about a week that the British and maybe the French
Yeah.
are willing to put. I'm amazed at how little coverage that's gotten. That seems to me to be more significant than if what the U.S. is talking about is air intelligence, selling arms to the Ukrainians and the British and the French.
Right.
Has that happened?
No.
Has it's in post Cold War has any Western European country put troops in another country to deter Russian aggression? Does that happen?
Members of NATO.
Where has it happened?
In Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia.
Well, sorry, to be clear, has it happened without American troops on the ground? Have they done it
Oh,
unilaterally?
yeah, there are no American.
What troops are in Lithuania? British?
I don't.
No, we had American troops.
We had
We had American troops in the Baltics. My
Yeah.
son, who is, I'm proud to say, is a Ranger Tab paratrooper, spent 3 months in Latvia after the invasion, after Putin invaded Ukraine.
Yeah.
It was NATO forward deployment saying, "Don't come in here."
Just to
But
be
you're
clear,
right.
Just to be clear,
not British and French would be very different.
British and French unilaterally, not under NATO.
you're right.
I don't think that's happened. You tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think.
No,
that's
I'm
don't think so.
not under NATO.
Yeah, but that seems pretty significant because for one thing, if it's under NATO, America's involved directly, right? We're talking here about some weird hybrid, which Cliff is right. We don't know exactly what it looks like, but for the British and the French to do that seems to me to be key to this whole deal and unprecedented.
Well, but also think that the Russians will accept that as part of the deal, because part of what the Russians have been trying to do is to get Ukraine to commit itself not to allow the stationing of troops from NATO.
That to me, and again, this started leaking out on Friday. That to me is and I know Cliff has concerns about the unknowns and want to talk about them, but that to me is the only, and I said this morning on the morning meeting, that to me is the piece of the deal that's different than what everybody's been talking about. And I assume the president of the United States has some reason to believe Putin will accept that because they're going around now saying that's part of the deal. So Cliff, can you see a world in which Putin would accept British and French troops in Ukraine?
Yes, but here's what I fear. If you were to, and this gets back to the conversation we had the last time we met, and it's one thing to kind of breeze the conflict along the lines of contact, which again is not ideal, but I would say it would be a move forward. What we believe that Putin wants is not only everything he's conquered, but a lot more, most of Donbass, things he hasn't yet conquered. And most concerning to me is what's called the fortress barrier. It's a line that's where the Ukrainians are very well dug in and where the Russians have not been able to penetrate further. If they were to give that up, and you were to say, okay, we'll replace that with French and British troops, do we trust that Putin wouldn't try to break through and hope that the troops would simply fade away? I think it's very hard for Zelensky to give that up. But you could see Putin saying, yeah, put some Russian and French troops there, and then find a way to go through and penetrate further and figure that the troops, like you look at UNIFIL, for example, in Lebanon, it was there to make sure that Hezbollah didn't rearm, and of course it didn't do so. Now that's the UN, and UN troops, I'm afraid, peacekeepers do very little that's useful. But I think it would be dangerous for the British and the French to do more than say we're watching and to say we're going to keep the Russians from penetrating. Would they not fade away? Does Putin not think they'd fade away? This all worries me. I don't think, but I think you're absolutely right. And it's a good thing for the French and the British to say we're willing to come in there and maintain an armistice of some sorts. And I think that's what we're talking about here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a good thing that they must think that the Russians will at least stay in the same room when they start talking about it. And it's open to a discussion. And at that point, the issue becomes what the Ukrainians, in my view, what the Ukrainians want to do. I could imagine the Ukrainian people deciding that the war has been horrible, that they need to stop fighting, and that a guaranteed survival of much of their country is something they have to accept now. People have done that in the past. They've given it up. And if they choose to give it up, that's their choice.
Yeah.
That's totally different than the Americans or the Europeans saying to Ukraine, you accept this, and if you reject it, we'll cut off your military equipment. If we leave it to them as something that if they choose to do, we will support them in every way that we can, then I think it may well be a step forward in a way to resolve the conflict.
Want more great clips like that? I've got an idea. Hit the subscribe button, be part of the Two Way community, never miss a clip, and you can always watch our full episodes, join them live, go to twoway.tv.